Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Hope Health Communication. And we are two Black moms, researchers, and hope seekers. We come together to bring you real talk, trusted resources, and community wisdom.
And we know that raising a family takes a village, and we're here to be a part of yours. We're here to share hopeful messages, expert insights, and tools you need for your family's wellness, growth, and joy. So, welcome to today's episode. We want to celebrate Mother's Day 2025.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all have a theme for this Mother's Day. Do y'all have a theme? But we are
Rest, but it's not
Take
going to
rest.
happen. Rest, I wish.
I know. I feel like that's a reoccurring theme, right? But
Yeah.
we have a wonderful guest with us, Chinasa Thorpe. Welcome to
Thank
our
you.
podcast. We're so happy you're here. And we just want to talk as millennial moms and, mothers, Black moms, living in today's society and navigating motherhood with a lot of information and
Mhm.
sometimes maybe not enough wisdom. I don't know. But we're gonna, I don't, sometimes it feels like information overload and you're
Yeah.
not sure what to do with it.
Mhm.
But we're just gonna share and kind of, we'd love to hear your stories and your, village wisdom and things that you can share with our community. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, just an introduction to you and your family, and then we'll jump right into some of the dialogue.
Yes, I'll be glad to. Thank you so much for having me. Like you all said, my name is Chinasa Thorpe. I am a millennial, a proud millennial, 89 baby. Ooh, ooh. I have two daughters. I'm a through and through girl mom. My oldest daughter is Beans. She's 5 years old. She is a mini me. And I also have a 2-year-old who we call
Ooh,
Noodle, who is
I
a
love
whole
it.
bunch of me, different aspects of my life.
Mhm.
I have a husband who I've been married to for almost 7 years, but we were high school sweethearts. We got married
Mhm.
later in life to have children. So I'm just excited to talk about motherhood and how different it looks each day, each year, each
Mhm.
stage in life, and then also just the difference from my upbringing to now and even future children, possibly, maybe not. We don't.
Okay. Love that. Love
That's awesome. 5 and 2, you busy.
that.
Yes, yes, I am very busy, and I have a very active family. My oldest is into acting and dancing, and my youngest is
Okay.
into sports. So she's playing soccer, but she'll be playing soccer soon. So all the things.
All
All
the
the things,
things.
all the things. I feel like, parenting today involves all the things.
Mhm.
Um, I've had to, so I have three,
Mhm.
15-year-old boy, 13-year-old boy, and six, soon to be 7-year-old girl. And I've had to like share with my husband, like all the things is not sustainable for me as a mom.
Mhm.
I wonder how you've navigated that so far with your 5 and your 2-year-old. Like, I think around the time my oldest was about 9, I was having my third child, and I was just like, they can't do more than like two activities. They got two things, and that's pretty much our cap because
Mhm.
now it's three of them and it's two of us. And you know, parents who are single parents, I have a lot of friends who are doing incredible jobs as single parents, and it's a lot, right? And it's like they outnumber you, and then what do you do, right? How do you get them to all these things? And so, but it does feel like motherhood is so much about scheduling their activities.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Yes,
I
structure.
got to a point where I was like, I just want some time where there's nothing on the calendar. And
Right.
I started to like put nothing on my calendar.
Nothing.
Just put nothing, like we're doing nothing. We're just sitting still. And it's just so different from previous generations, right? I'm also an 80s baby. We had a lot of nothing time. And I
Yeah.
did a lot of extracurricular, but I still felt like there was a
Mhm.
good amount of time where we just didn't have things filling those
Planned.
spaces.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
what
I
do you like?
even
What's that been like for you?
so I have a counseling background, therapy and self-care, and just trying to be intentional with like
Oh,
looking
good.
at life. So I definitely see life a lot different.
Mm-hmm.
I do allow my child to say no to things because they're scheduled. Remember, they're not with us throughout the day because they're in school 8 hours, and then we get a few hours, and then the weekend is jam packed with activities and birthday parties. There's opportunity for my kid to say, no, mommy, I don't want to go to dance. No, mommy, I don't want to go to acting. No, mommy, I just want to stay home. Because I also want her to be able to be a kid, because as millennials, we had that experience. We didn't have a lot of money growing up. We got a lot of outside play. We had a lot of time playing with our cousins. And I want her to also, I want them to also have that experience with also feeding my inner child to be able to do those activities that I did not do.
Right.
So finding that balance of mommy and daddy, or mommy is not doing anything, or you're not doing anything, it is okay to say no. And then also, I tell my daughter, mommy's just going to say no to you, and mommy's just going to go and order a table for one, which I do pretty often now, where I just kind of regroup, because mommy's always on edge. Mommy's always on structure. Mommy's always figuring it out. Even in my day job, Dahlia knows, like, I am the fixer of things. So when I am checking out, I need to be intentional about my time, because if I'm not fed, I cannot feed my kids. You know what I mean? So I cannot give them the mommy that they deserve. So I do believe in the power of no, and just, it's okay that I cannot show up to this activity.
So hey, I'm jotting down notes, right? You gave some powerful tips there. I think I do okay in some of those areas, but not so much in others. I have a son who is 10 and a girl who is 7. They are almost exactly 3 years apart. So his birthday is on the 3rd of September. Hers is on the 13th.
Oh yeah,
And so,
busy September.
yeah, right. I am in a co-parenting, so I wouldn't designate myself as a single parent, because I feel like their dad is very active, and I definitely want to give him credit. But it is still a lot of instances where I feel a bit overwhelmed with the scheduling. I was my weekend, my nothing weekend was supposed to be this weekend, and then I get a text like, "Can Langston play in a tournament for soccer this weekend?" And I'm like, that's my whole weekend again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not exercise the power of no, so we're going to be doing that, and I agree with you. You have to set some boundaries. And I think even the kids appreciate it, because I think sometimes my son wants to please his dad in the sports space. And so he feels like he has to just be this the extraordinary athlete and just not say no to opportunities like that. So I'll just be like, well, no, you're not going to play this weekend, or you're not going to go to practice tonight because you have testing this week. So I agree. I think you just have to set those boundaries. But as a mom, like, I don't always feel like I have the opportunity. I feel like, honestly, I go to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I feel like I want to sleep in, and I don't want to get up, because I know as soon as I hit the ground, it's go time. Like, it's no breaks in between. And so I want to get an idea as to, like, even your day to day. How do you try and manage that? Do you feel like you split that well with your partner, where you kind of delegate obligations for, you guys have your separate things that you have to do to kind of make it work, so that you do get some opportunity to squeeze in a little bit of self-care, even on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so this came with trial and error. So unfortunately, my mom passed away 2 weeks after my youngest daughter was born. So I was in a whirlwind. If you asked me this question 2 years ago with my first daughter, I couldn't answer that. But with me going through postpartum depression, and then also just going through grief and not knowing how to navigate that, and like learning the new version of me, I've become more honest about where I am on my day to day. So if there's a day where I cannot, pour into other people, because I really believe, and you have to pour into yourself. It is almost, I was not frowned upon, but it is frowned upon when us mothers just say no, and we just want to be alone, and we cannot do for others. I had to get over people saying, oh, you're being selfish. I say, I am being selfish. I'm being intentionally selfish for me because you all are intentionally selfish for you. But then you're used to us mom, especially Black women, we're always givers. We're always like, we can handle it. If another person cannot show up to the plate, we're the first ones to raise our hand and say we can do it because we can. We have to realize that we literally have to pour into ourselves. You will feel good. It feels almost it feels very foreign when you ask for a table of one and people are looking at you. You're just like, okay, hi, how are you? It was very uncomfortable at first, but I'm like, no, I feel so much better coming in. And now, like I said, my oldest daughter, she is my person. She always asks me, mommy, are you okay? Like, how was your date? How was your, your self-care? I instilled that into her. So it came with trial and error. I just had to just one day just say, Chinasa, you're not doing well. You have to show up for yourself as you show up for other people. You pour into so many other people. Like I'm telling you, ladies, you can do it. It's easier said than done. You just have to try it. And it is the best medicine that I've ever given myself, which is I'm working from home. No one's here. And it is like, I love a peace and quiet.
Oh, I love it too.
I don't feel ashamed about it or anything.
Yeah. You're touching on so many critical points. I think, when we look at the data of Black women's health, the status of Black women's health, the status of Black mothers, we talk a lot about that postpartum period, like right after the baby, and that's made national news and all that kind of stuff, even during delivery. But the long-term mothering effects on the body, right? They are severe. They are detrimental. Like we love our children and they're beautiful and you work so hard to keep them healthy and happy. But when we look at, the obesity rates among Black mothers and the heart disease among Black mothers, and now we're seeing more and more mental illness, severe mental illness among Black mothers. I don't think as a collective, we are listening to what you're saying. And so what's happening is our bodies and our minds are shutting down and then we listen, right? It's this sort of reaction. And I guess for our generation, I think we have a certain bravery built on the backs of our moms, of course, but there's a certain bravery and almost desperation to say no, right? I think we see how detrimental not taking time to rest is and has been on our mothers, our aunts, our grandmothers, that we are saying no earlier. And sometimes we have to say no to the same people who sacrifice for us, which is really, really hard.
Yeah.
Right? I can say no. People I don't listen. I know it's gonna come easy to me for people who don't really have an impact on my life and my internal life. But the people you love and the people who are there for you, when you have to say no to them, that's been really hard for me. And I think what I've had to tell myself is, what am I demonstrating to my children, right? And am I demonstrating that they have to say yes to please others all the time, and that putting others first is so important, and more important than thinking about themselves? Like, I don't want to send that message, and that message was sent to me by pretty much everyone in my life, and I love them dearly, and I know they did so much, but it's like, I wish y'all would have said no at least 10% of the more times than you did. But I feel like we are saying no because we see such dire health outcomes, that we feel like we have to say that. But it's still not always received well. And I'm talking from Black mom to Black mom. I'm not talking, you know what I'm saying? I'm not talking about people who don't live life. I'm talking about Black mother to Black mother. Sometimes we're still not encouraging that no, right? The lip service is there, but when we have to say no to each other, to say, you know what, I can't show up today, or I can't be there today, that part and is harder because we love each other so much, right? But I guess what I'm saying is that if we're going to help each other to do this more, we have to affirm each other's no every time we hear it. You almost have to encourage it and say, wait a minute, Rasheeta, when is a better time for you, right? I could sense that right now it might be too many things, but tell me in the future when might be better, right? And to almost think for each other, because we know how hard it is to say that no.
Yeah.
I guess I'm kind of asking for what I need, right?
Right.
Right? I hear myself. I'm like, I'm asking for what I need. It's that people be considerate of you, so that you don't always have to assert that no, because it's so hard, right? But if we are trying to build community and take care of each other, it's almost like anticipating and saying, I know Chinasa has had an overwhelming season. I'm not gonna call her at all for right now. I'm gonna tell her, hey, I'm not.
I love you, but take care of yourself right
That's
now.
right. That's right.
You need, so what we do, so I am very blessed to have the support system. I believe I created this culture for ourselves, because now my friends, they commend me. I'm in a couple friend groups, some friend groups with children, and then in another friend group, my college friend group, I'm the only one with children. So they commend me on my nose. I even sometimes send out a group text to say, Chinesa checking out. No, I'm not mad at anyone. No, it's not. I just need a moment. I cannot show up.
I love that.
And we created this safe space to say, it is okay that I cannot show up for you. Or if they call to say, I need a listening ear, sorry, friend, I can listen, but I have nothing to give you. And we're okay with that. We're not mad at each other. You know what I mean? Creating that safe space for you and creating the new culture, everyone will get on bandwagon, because it's like, I need you to do it first. No, I need you to do it first. I don't know. I'm like, we're in teeter waters, So just making your friend group or your sisterhood known of your needs and your wants, eventually they'll come around.
I love that too.
And they may never, and that might be
okay. And that might be okay too.
And that is a transition, because everyone is not going in the same direction you're going in.
That's right.
Like when I went through the transition of losing my mom and going through depression, and everything was falling apart, and those people are not here, not saying that we fell off on bad blood, or we ended on bad blood. It's just we were in a different transition. I'm creating a new culture. You created a new culture, and our cultures are just not aligning right now.
Exactly. You're indifferent. And we know that some people are with us for a season, right? As far as friendships or relationships, it doesn't always mean that someone's going to be there for a lifetime, and that's okay too. Like you said, it doesn't necessarily have to be adversarial. It's just that we're going in different directions, and you need to move in that direction for the progress of your life and what's happening for you. And the same applies to me. And I really want to kind of talk, when you all were kind of speaking, I was thinking about a saying that my mom, because my mom she's the oldest of her siblings, and she would always be kind of the one people would go to for anything, and particularly money. And so she started, letting people borrow, giving, and then she got to a point where she's like, I'm just going to say no, because I'm tired of being the fall guy. Like, if people don't want to pay you back, they're like, oh, she got it type of thing.
Yeah.
Like, I would rather them be mad and I have my money than them, and they can be mad and don't have my money. I'd rather them not have it. And they can be mad at me because they're gonna be, and then instead of me being mad and they have my money, right? So it's like you have to set those boundaries for yourself. And I think about that in so many different contexts. Like, I'd rather them be mad and I'm sane, rather than me be insane or not being able to cope, and they're chilling because I've given all of me to them. And so I think your point is well taken. So
how did your mom, Rasheeta, if you think about what she shared with you, so I think about my mom getting older too, and how her no's are more confident.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right. And so it's like a thing that happens with older women, right? Is that they're like, I've given you everything. And now I'm done, right? I remember saying to my mom maybe a couple years ago, Mommy, I'm not trying to wait that long to say no. Because I just feel like it's not okay, right? I've seen the journey of what it means to give and give and give. And it's not just my mom. Like, I've literally witnessed so many of the women that I love in my life just pour and pour and pour out. Not that men don't pour out, but women pour out in a different way that is so absorbing of who we are.
Mhm.
And I just think we've been taught not to have boundaries and that we have to be responsible for everybody and everything. That we burn out, right? Because of that. There's like an age where you start to see women say no. And I just didn't think it was healthy to wait until that time. But it has been a really difficult journey of even with my children, of saying to them, okay, this is how much time I have, right? So I have this thing of 8:30 cutoff, right? That's I'm not going to sleep, but I'm done, right? And I don't want to hear
Oh, I need to get
mommy.
that. I need to get that in my spirit.
Let me tell you,
8:30
they break this rule. They break it 7 nights in a week. They break it 7 nights in a week. But the good thing is that I see them more like adjusting, right? You talk about culture change, Chinasa, right? I see them adjusting to it where they will try to hold each other accountable. Even my 6-year-old will be like, "Mommy's done. It's 8:35," And so I see that, them sort of advocating and, and just saying like, I have nothing. I'm done. They're like, well, what are you doing? I'm doing nothing. I'm sitting on my bed. And that's okay. Like, I got to recharge. And, there's science that says like how long it takes for us to wind down, right? Where we can actually get into a good rest mode. I started to use my phone to put the timer on of this is when you need to wind down. And I've seen the benefit of that.
Wow.
My sleep, being able to sleep better, just, creating those necessary boundaries so that children respect that mommy is also human and needs to be refreshed and strengthened through rest, physical rest, emotional rest, all those things. So I really agree that we teach people how to treat us. And, some of the things that I've learned from the older generation is to start a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the major lessons that I've learned. And I'm taking your mom's statement, like, I'd rather they not have my money and be mad. That's American. And I'm not even thinking about money. I'm thinking about time.
Right. Right.
Because I think that's
so many
I have the worst boundaries with that. But yeah. What have you guys learned from like the older generations of how to mother yourself, or
That's almost difficult. So my grandmother adopted me. When I say I lost my mom, it was my grandmother who raised me. She was 92. So she was very much a Southern belle. So old. Yes. I love her heart. I do. I relate. I tell everyone I'm a Southern belle, but I'm raised. It's almost hard because I did not see her really like showing up for herself. Yeah, she took care of herself, and I think my eldest aunt did that for her. So I always saw the things that I did not want, because I did see how some of like my aunts will ask her for things or take from her, because I come from a family of addiction. Like again, all the things that taught me what to do now, because I did not want to be who I saw in my home. So I think it was the opposite effect of what she did, what I was like, I love the gems, and you, of course, you are a strong Black woman, you pour into me, but you ended up not being able to travel because your health declined. Wow. And yeah, you were taking care of yourself, but I don't think you actually lived a life you wanted to live, because you raised 3 sets of children. So that is the era that I did not want to be raising my grandchildren or my great grand. And God bless her soul for doing that. But I did not have like a lot of gems. I got of course the respect from her. I got, being polite, being a homemaker, of those things, but self-care was not one of the things that I learned. I learned from just by doing, and just the person that I am, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I will say very well, I think like you said, in my grandmother's era, I was very fortunate to have known both my grandmothers, and I had a substantial amount of time with both of them in my upbringing. And I agree. I think for their generation, it was all about giving. The one grandmother had 17 kids, and they were all singlets, and she tended to also raise, other extended family. And she started at 14. She was married at 14. So I was thinking about like how much of her life was given away. Um, and then my other grandmother was very similar in that she was just all about um, raising several generations. She raised her mother died at a young age, so she raised her younger siblings. Then she raised her own children. Then she had my aunt's children who lived with her until she passed. So it was all this given away to everyone else, and I rarely saw where she had moments to herself. I really don't know when she had them and when she even asked for them. But my mom, it took her a little bit of time, but she's gotten there. And she's, like you said, she's very confident about her no. And she set very firm boundaries about what she will and won't do. I think, obviously she's flexed a little bit with grandkids because they can kind of get a little bit more leeway. But it's not often that, like, people who she would normally probably just cave to or be like siblings or even me, like she set some boundaries too. I'll tell this little story. I used to when I was in college, I used to be a little bit more of a spontaneous spender. So like I would run credit cards up or something like that. And then she would pay the balance off. And then she just put her foot down one day. She was like, sister girl, if you want to go out and spend this money, you're going to have to start paying, because she's like, someone has to, right? Someone has to pay.
Somebody has
on the other end. And I think that is indicative of what we're saying. Whether it's with money or time, someone's paying for it on the other end. And so as moms, we have to set our boundaries, even with our own children.
Yep.
Because mine will push back in a minute. This generation, honey, is, yes. My mom's like, she was here this last weekend and she was like, oh, y'all couldn't come up when I did because you wouldn't have no teeth.
And on that note, let's talk a bit about that, right? Like the discipline styles of moms of yesteryear and the discipline styles of today, right? I think the verdict is still out on what we're doing. It
is.
Right? Because we don't have no data yet, right? But we do have some information on what has happened to us as the children of those generations. And I think that's why we've switched some stuff, right? So corporal punishment, physical beatings, even if you do, physical discipline, it's going to be on the lighter side and the very infrequent side, right? So I'm not debating that with the community because I know it's a thing, right? But even those I know who still do physical discipline it's so light compared to what they were given, right? I grew up seeing like people come out with cords, right, in our neighborhood getting whipped in the street in the broad daylight, and didn't happen to us, but we saw it. It was a thing that you could see. So I know we've changed that quite a bit. We do more talking, more reasoning, more negotiating. And I wonder if I know I'm tired. I'm gonna just be transparent, right?
Yeah, they take advantage of the tiredness. I know mine.
Other humans who don't have no money, they broke, and they in your house, and you still got to reason with them. It's a lot, right? But we're trying to boost their emotional intelligence and all that kind of stuff, and give them the skills to make good decisions. So we talk to them a lot more. The benefit of that is that I have very clear-headed children. So even when they make a mistake, they can articulate what they're doing because we talk about so much. That's the positive side. The downside is it takes more time to have these conversations. Yes. Where if I smacked you and I sent you to bed, that would have been over in 5 minutes, right? 2, sometimes as children, because they're not fully developed yet, their brains, they think that us talking to them means that they can reason their way out of a consequence.
Yes.
So
Ooh, yes.
accountability is on the low end because we have so much conversation.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I'm seeing. And I, like I
Mhm.
said, I have between 15 and 6. And I had a conversation this morning with an educator, and I was like, firmness needs to be put back into parenting.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Some
Mhm.
of our children are missing the point of
Yes.
all this conversation,
Yeah.
right? I think they're getting away with stuff, and perhaps they are getting away with stuff, which is not going to be good for anybody, right? But I know why we're doing this. I know that our generation is doing this because we don't want this sort of traumatic
Trauma,
impact
yeah.
of
Mhm.
harsh discipline. So we're not promoting harsh discipline. We're generally kind of, conscious parenting is something I follow. Is if you've
Yeah.
about conscious parenting, and there are many other terms that kind of speak to that. But I'm not a gentle parent. I
I love
really
that
not
word.
that, and that's
I love-
nothing wrong with that. It's just that it doesn't work.
Don't work for my son, child.
Mm-mm.
I had to have that. I just had to cut the conversation out because
Yeah.
he gonna stay it till he out of whatever consequence. He is a straight debater, and Lord, he get
Yes, exactly.
daddy, Lord. Oh, okay.
Exactly. It doesn't work for my house. I hear you. But
My
I guess
2-year-old
tell
is
us
like
what. Yes,
this.
Your
sir.
2-year-old? Did you say
My
your 2-year-old?
so I was in therapy last week, virtual therapy, and my husband was at work and the house was going crazy, and he could not believe my 2-year-old was speaking. She's a very articulate little person. You would not believe it. I truly believe my mom left her spirit within this 2-year-old because she is. If you see her, she looks like she's 12 months. She
Wow.
open her mouth, she sounds like she's about 10.
Wow.
So with us, I get the I like the conscious parenting. I like that word. I never heard of that, so I will use it because I'd like to see that I'm a balanced parent, because I do old school and I'm also new school. I do a lot of negotiating.
Mm-hmm.
But my 2-year-old is not the typical 2-year-old, and sometimes I'll be ready to flip out sometime because the things that come out of her mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Well, matter of fact, my 5-year-old, because she's a YouTube kid now, she likes to watch certain things that I block. And my saying to her is, they do not have the parent that you have. So you need to will it back, because what Ryan is doing, I don't know,
You can't, it don't fly here.
it's not. So I will listen to you, but it's a
Mhm.
certain way that you're going to speak to me.
That's right.
And when I say no, don't ask me why all the time. If you want to ask me why, if I want to give you an explanation, I will. But when I say no, I mean no. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And I have to talk to her very firmly. Then sometimes I beat myself up a little bit because I can see her face. Because she is a very good kid. But when she's in trouble and she knows that she took mommy to another level, then she does not like to see. I sometimes go in the corner and be like, was I too hard on her? And I ask my husband, did I yell at her too much, or was I too mean? And then we'll have a conversation after that, because now I am feeling bad because I yelled at you and I made you feel a certain way. And I don't want you to feel a certain way, but you actually needed it. And then she'll say, Mommy, you made me angry.
Yeah.
I'm so upset right now. I just need a moment. I use this thing in my house where, go have your moment. If you're having a temper tantrum, I won't completely stop it, but go do that in your own room, and then come back and let's have a conversation. So she uses that against me now and say, Mommy, don't talk to me. I need a moment. And I have to look back and be like, I hear my mom saying, you gonna let her talk to you like that?
Right.
Trying to give her space because she does not understand, because I'm trying to create a culture where she's able to let me know how she feels. And I am not trying to diminish how she feels or to validate how she feels. So it is I'm in this trial and error because my children are young. So if you have any feedback on how to navigate that as they get older,
you're all ears.
Yeah, and that's what I learned. So what I learned about being conscious is being conscious about me. So it's my temperament, my temperature. How am I doing emotionally? What do I have capacity for? Right. And so, because I did realize, and even speaking to other friends of mine who are moms, is that we may not beat, but we yell a lot more than our generations. So we're using our voice to assert our authority when they used to use the belt or their hands.
Right.
But neither one of those things are good, right? Because now they just have, verbally abusive parents.
Yep.
And many
They
people
tune you out.
right, they tune you out. But a lot of kids will say, I'd rather you smack me rather than all this.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I've heard kids say that, right? So it's like a lot of it is emotional regulation of myself. That's what I have to realize, is that being a mother has introduced me to so many elements of who I am. I had no idea who this person was until each child came, and each child teaches me something else. And then each phase teaches me something else, right? It's all about patience for sure. But I think just being in tune with, like, why is my son's response to me making me feel so defensive, right? Why is his resistance to my, demand or whatever for the house, and he's not compliant? Why is that making me riled up, right? It's just the dishes, you know what I'm saying? But it ends up feeling like it's the end of the world sometimes because of other things that could be dysregulating me. Or it could be just expectations of what I think parenting should be and what the parent-child relationship should be. And so as much as like we've tried to move away from our parents, there's so much of that still lingers.
Still in us, yeah.
That I sometimes feel like, that desire for complete obedience, especially if you grew up as a religious child, and I did, where your honoring of your parents is to not question them, not speak back, don't even look funny, right? Don't even have an emotion, don't even, right? All of that is what I grew up with. And so even though I'm trying to give more leeway for their humanity, when they show up in their full humanity, I'm triggered, right? And I get upset. And now I'm shouting, and now I'm like, you don't listen, and and that doesn't help anybody. So as with these boys, Rasheeta and I talk about this all the time, right? One thing I've learned from my mom, she said to me, you have to be firm with these boys, right? This is my mom. This is not medical advice. This is my medical advice, right? So, but she has some wisdom, right? And we talk about community wisdom, and the gender and the perceptions of me as a woman. I saw that look in one of my kids' faces the other day of like, like, I don't gotta listen to you, guys. Let me tell you,
that made you.
I had to collect myself so quickly because of my roots as a Jamaican and as a Philadelphian. And I had to collect my, right? It's a crazy combo. I had to collect myself and really get settled and say, this little boy has no idea what he's doing, right? He's impulsive, he's young, he's immature. Like, I had to really coach myself in like 5 seconds to not flip off. And I realized in that moment, like, oh, okay, this is another massive learning moment for me as a mom to deal with some stuff that he is pulling out of me, right? And so I think we're so reflective in our generation. I know there's a lot of flack that millennials get, but I think one thing that we do well is to really think about why we act the way we act. And I'm hoping that will be beneficial one day to them.
Yeah, to your point, Rochelle, I want to chime in a little bit about the comment you made when you're thinking about how your son perceived you. I get, and it burns me. I got it this morning. My son's like, but Dad said, you pay the bills over here, son. So let me tell you, wait.
Even if he do.
Yeah, and it's almost like this constant like overriding.
Yes.
And, I respect your dad because I want them to know that we do co-parent, and we are in most times aligned on how we need to deal with them. But I'm like, when I say something like, please don't do that. Don't come back with what Dad said. And it's just, that I think it does, undermine. It feels like you're trying to undermine my authority by just injecting dad's name, like giving yourself that authority of your father. And so I don't know if you guys get that same kind of play on the other parent, to utilize them in a way that's a little bit kind of like a weaponization of
Mm-hmm.
the parent.
I do, even the
Yeah.
youngest. Yep. And I have girls, so of course anything daddy says. When mommy says no, I'm the bad guy. So
Yeah.
I'm respect. But I'm tough as nails.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'll say too, my mom, one of her disciplines when I would talk back or something was the backhand me. She literally she backhand me. Listen, when I was young, I remember this now. I used to have the flinches. That's what I call them. Like, it's like so I think for me, in the back of my mind, like you all were saying, I wanted to make sure my children had space to be able to speak, but and we have that conversation without me just going ahead and just letting them know like I'm the authority. Don't say
Don't
nothing
play.
to me. And I think it did really have a bearing on some of how I showed up in the world, like kind of feeling like, okay, I better not say, like being more reserved and not having a voice sometimes when I had something to say. And so my kids are the total opposite. They have a lot to say, and they because my daughter had a recital Sunday and she had a featured part and she stood out. She always does. She is going to show out, like that's her thing. She wants to be the center of attention. And so a lady behind me, she was an older lady, she said she didn't know she was my daughter. She's like, oh, I love that she just got that spirit. And I said, well, that's my daughter. She said, well, she must get it for you. I said, she's the total opposite of me.
Yeah.
I was never that. I was never that
I
person.
love that. I love that.
And I wonder, I was like, would I have been that person? If
Yes,
didn't
I
have
think
that
about that all the time.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Looking at your children and being like, am I giving them what it means to be their full self?
Mhm.
Right? And my daughter, yeah, I feel that. Like
Mhm.
she she is me times 10, right? Like she
Mhm.
has all the confidence and will advocate for herself. I feel like I became that in my 30s.
Right,
She's
later on.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
And
do that all the
and my
time.
mom will say that I had that compared to her, right? So each generation, I think we try to boost our children's confidence, hopefully. Um, but yeah, having girls, China said, like, what is that like as a mother, where you're raising your girl because you
Oh,
were raised by your grandmother, so it's having that sort of, what has that been like for you?
it is like it is sometimes freaky and scary because my oldest, she is every bit of an adult version of me. Very confident and just the life of the party, and just seeing some of the things that she just does unintentionally is me. I
Yeah.
was having a conversation with my therapist. I said, I'm it scares me because she's a mother figure and she wants to take care of everything. And that was me growing up. And that is the reason why I became a codependent, which we don't talk about either. I became dependent on other people's successes. Like I thrive if we're doing good. I'm like, hooray, hooray. But again, I'm not pointing to myself. And I'm at this space today where I am trying to let her know you don't have to do that for your sister. You don't have to help her go to the bathroom. You don't have to get her food.
Right.
And her sister, 2-year-old, who is a little annoying 2-year-old toddler, calls her mama because she knows that annoys my 5-year-old. Even because Bailey acts like her mom sometimes. And I see that.
Yeah.
When I learned about my childhood trauma, I wanted to be the fixer. So when you ask me, do I see my child in me, or I see myself in my child? It is like I'm reliving my childhood over again, and I'm trying not to make those mistakes. But again, I'm being so hard on myself as a parent. Sometimes I'm being too nice. Sometimes I'm not being as nice. And she does have the little flinch because she has a little mouth on her where she cannot bite her tongue. And she knows, she looks at me and she be like,
I need the flinch too. I just need.
And I think because mine are younger, I'm really trying to make sure they don't go out into this world, because this world is so mean and harsh. And I don't want them to have those battles, but then I also don't want her to be a mean girl either, because she
Yeah.
says sometimes what comes to her mouth. So I'm trying to navigate that. But just to see the younger versions of myself and that I'm able to give them the things that I did not have is definitely a joy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Because
ooh,
I'm
I
also
love
not,
that.
I don't want to overcompensate either.
Yeah.
I'm in that
It's
parent.
tough. That balance is tough to
Yeah.
But I love that you said it gives you joy, because I really think, like, for me, I really enjoy my kids. As
Yes.
much as I tell them 8:30 is a cutoff, like I really enjoy them, right? Um and it's like sometimes joy includes a lot of hard work, right? So I
Yeah.
get that part, and but I think the hardest part for me of mothering is not necessarily my children. It's the
Mm-hmm.
expectations of the world on them, and
Yeah.
it's the
Yes.
expectations of the world on me. That's
Mm-hmm.
what confines my mothering on most days is
Yeah.
external forces. You know, me and my kids and my husband, like we have an understanding, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
we're there for each other's joy and peace and all of that and all the things in between, right? Of just normal human beings, but external forces of telling me this is how I should mother and this is what my kids should have accomplished by a certain age and
Yeah.
certain benchmarks and oh my
Mhm.
gosh, like that book that you get with you know what to expect when expecting and
Yeah.
it goes throughout the first year. I used to check my firstborn's poop like every single poop for the first year of his life, looking for the color, looking for consistency, looking for everything, just nervous. And I feel like I was my anxiety started when I became a mom. I
Mhm.
probably always had some measure of anxiety, but the intensity of
Mhm.
it really started when I became a mom. And I've had to work really hard to not make that overshadow the
Yeah.
joy that I really feel in
Yeah.
mothering them and to kind of separate the two things, right? Like I'm not anxious because of them, but
Mhm.
because of the external pressure of what it means to show up as a Black mom.
Yeah.
So true.
That is good.
Chanessa, did you have something you
No,
want to say? I don't want to. Oh,
just
yeah, I didn't
mainly
want to over talk you because I know sometimes we're ready to get on in there, but yeah, I
no,
want to
I'm
give
just
you
excited
the
to
floor if you have
hear.
something to
I'm
add.
just excited to hear the parenting of like older children and just having a joy because they're light at the end of the tunnel. Because I always feel like I'm not being seen as a mother, and the conversations that I'm having with my younger daughters, is it too soon to have? And you all are giving me confirmation that it's not, because they will eventually
Mm-hmm.
deal with life as a teenager or a preteen, and think for themselves. Right now, I'm primarily their thinkers, but I'm teaching them to be critical thinkers.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just watching them and just thinking about them. And as they're in school, I went to my daughter's award ceremony. She didn't know she was getting an award. The teacher texted me and said she's getting an award. She didn't even know I was showing up. And just to see her smile on her face, because my grandmother could not show up for me because she was taking care of baby. So when I am able to be present, thank God I have a job where I'm able to take time
Mm-hmm.
off or going to work late and just show up for my kid
Yeah.
is a blessing. And everyone loves her. And I'm like, I love that for you. I love that you have that confidence, but then I also don't want you to feel like everyone needs to love you, because she's the type
Mm.
to,
Mm-hmm.
want people to play with her. She is the most popular kid in her school. As I went to family night, and I noticed like all the kids, even the older kids, hey Bailey, hey Bailey, and she gravitates towards that. In that parent teacher conference, her teacher told me that she needs to develop a little bit of her social skills, because she is a popular kid. She gets to play with who she wants to play with. She gets to pick
Mm-hmm.
who she wants to play with. And I'm trying to navigate, how do I get her to be friendly with everyone and not be so territorial because you're such a popular girl. I don't
Yeah.
want you
She
to be a
sets
mean
the
girl.
tone. She sets
Yeah.
the mood, the tone. That's the feedback I got about my son, is that
Mm.
he sets the mood. His teacher told me, she said, if Langston's having a good morning, we're all pretty, we're in a good
Yes.
space. But if he's not, the tone, the temperament of the class is set by him. And I was like, wow, that's a lot of power that he
Yes.
has. And I try to make sure that he's responsible with that. Like you said, how
Yes.
do you navigate and be be your authentic self, but also just be considerate of others and not have,
Yeah.
think about what the influence you bring to the space,
Yes.
and try
Yeah.
to be as responsible with that as you can.
The
So
teacher even depends on her as a 5-year-old. The teacher sometimes not technically depend on her, but she says Bailey can run the class. Like if I'm missing something because we're so structured, Bailey will make sure the kids are in place. And I'm like, that's a lot of pressure. I don't want her to be the fixer, but
yeah.
that could be just her nature. But I want her to know how to navigate it or nurture it in a positive way. Because if that is who you are, that is who you are. But I
Mhm.
don't want it to come off as if you are shunning people out or you're just Miss Know-it-all because you are super
Mhm.
smart and super
And
cute.
this is this your firstborn?
Yes.
Because it could be birth order. Because y'all, it sounded like I was like my firstborn in so many ways.
And she's a
You
COVID,
know.
not technically a COVID baby. She was home with me. So she got all of the education. So she is very much advanced further than her peers. And I try not to, a lot of people compare their kids to my kid and say they wish their kid was doing these things. I say, please don't do that because she just has a different mom. So we do things that she wants to do. I don't force it. This is just how she thinks at this moment. But again, it puts a lot of pressure on me because I'm like, am I doing too much? Am I giving her too much freedom as a 5-year-old? She's not, if you met her, Dahlia knows, if you met her, she's not the typical 5-year-old. She's so mature for her age. And I just want her to be a kid because I was not able to really, really be a kid because I was a fixer. I was taking care of kids at a young age.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So.
I know we're like coming up on the end, so I had a clip, and I hope that Dahlia could bring it up. And it was from the movie. It was a Tyler Perry movie called "The Family That Prays," and this is when Alfred Woodard's character talked about how much of herself she gave to other people. And I just wanted to see if we could play this clip and then have a response on the back end.
Are you living or are you existing? I didn't get what she was saying at the time, but this morning I could hear her voice asking me that same question again. Are you living or are you existing? It's funny what your mind goes back to when you're grieving. I told her after my girls were older, I would start having more fun. Then it was after my children went off to college. Then it was after I helped with my grandbaby. I would tell her, my children need me. But what I found in all these years of living is no matter how much love and support you give your children, they are still human beings, and you are not their only influence. I have spent my entire life giving it away. I think I'm going to keep the rest of it for me. Death is a tragic thing if you haven't lived. Thank you, Charlotte.
So I thought that was just so indicative of just what we talked about, right? I got chills when I heard her talking. I'm supposed to stop it. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was so just captured a lot of what we talked about when it comes to moms and the fact that we typically give most of our life away, and we kind of feel like we sign up for that, right? When we have
Yeah.
kids,
Like it's virtuous.
it wasn't their, it wasn't their decision to come, so
Yeah.
we have to get them to where they need to be in order to be independent. But I think once we do that, and we have to start to balance that, the fact that we've equipped them to be the people that they need to be, and we need to allow them to thrive. And we'll always be a part of their lives, obviously, but we just probably don't have to mother so much towards the fact that
Yeah, and there's appropriate types of parenting for different ages, and I think there's a lot of good work out there that talks about you know parenting styles and how to think about your child and what they may need, and also just kind of talking to your kid. I find that helps to just how do you need me to show up right now, right? Or what do you really appreciate? And that I currently do. What do you like and what do you don't like so much? And when I've asked my kids that, they're like, "Mommy, we don't like when you have to repeat 3-4 times." I said, "Ooh, guess what? We don't like the same things."
Right.
Because I don't want to repeat either. So how do we plan so that I repeat less, right? And so that's, self-awareness on everybody's side. And
Yeah.
but I think, I think our humans come to teach us about ourselves. If they do anything, that's what they come to do. And I appreciate that role of being a mother and getting to kind of see these reflections of myself in them, but also things that are not me, that's just them and or from their dad, but just sort of learning through that is very rewarding, and it's a privilege. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't be mindful of how we are managing through this mothering work, because it is work. Ultimately, it takes energy, it takes concentration, it takes time, it takes money. I mean, that's the definition of work.
Absolutely.
And so this mothering job and this work, how can I show up today? When do I need a day off? So before we wrap up, I feel like Mother's Day should be mom's day off, but it generally isn't, right? It's just mom's day with the kids being kind of told to say something nice to their mom. And I have this thing where I'm like, when I go into the store to get cards for the moms in my life, I never see a card that celebrates a mother who knows how to take care of herself. All of the cards say things like, "You did so much for us. You sacrificed so much for us." So the messaging is, I can't even be celebrated as a mother unless I lay down my life. That's what I interpret. I know I'm dramatic, but I'm just like, this is not, I don't want these cards. I want the card that says, "Mommy, you did a good job because you did so many self-care days this year. Celebrate how I take care of myself. Celebrate, Mommy, you really started working out, and we saw that you told us to go to bed and you could take time for yourself." Like, how do we, reteach?
I like that, Rochelle. I haven't really thought about it in that way, but I really appreciate you bringing that up because I agree. And we know the narrative can be framed by whomever is creating the cards, or
Yeah.
what I'm saying, like
You might
they're
have something.
establishing that as the expectation, right? So that's the narrative that people expect for you to get a card like that, right? You
Yeah, I feel like Hope Health Communication about to make some Mother's Day cards. I don't know.
We are, because listen, I've been making cards like with watercolors. So I was thinking, I was like, maybe I need to stick a few wellness messages in there.
They will sell, honestly. Like sometimes just seeing those notes, just say, "Mom, you're doing a good job because you're taking
Doing a
care of
good
you."
job.
Okay.
Is a note.
Take a
That should
note.
be your first card. "Mom, you're doing a good job because you're taking care of you."
Yes, come
Yeah,
on. Like, I would love that card. Are you
yeah.
kidding me?
And just
It's a messaging for the next generation. And I know somebody gonna be like, "What about the dads?" We're gonna get there. We're
We're
gonna
gonna
have the
get
Father's Day
there.
podcast. We get it. We love them. But it's like we see what the detriment. They're really, so like parenting is harming our bodies. Like that's a real thing, right? So that needs to be addressed. And we're not saying get rid of the kids. We're not saying have less kids, because I do hear so many of the young people that I interact with say they don't want children.
Yeah.
So so I feel like what's happened generationally is that, one, we look back at our mom and said, like you said, Chinasa, I learned things that I don't want. The kids of today, the 18 to 30-year-olds today, don't want kids.
Yeah.
They're not even trying to negotiate this sort of battle and this sort of, right? So many of them don't want kids. We see the birth rate going down drastically. And we know, the policies that are trying to prevent all of that.
Well,
Which is missing the point, right? Like you should still have, freedom. But the idea is that people don't want the responsibility of raising children and what it comes with, just the heaviness of it, the external factors, the pressure. And so if we could think about parenting in a different way, maybe more people would sign up for it willingly, you
Yeah.
know? And so that's the message I want to give to my kids. I don't want them to feel like I was so tired all the time that they don't want to feel tired, so they're going to not have kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good. Now, I think a message that I want to leave with my children is it's okay to have children, but children teach you how to take care of yourself, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it really, because if you're without children, you're just free. You don't have really a care in the world. You're just thinking about yourself. But being able to balance caring for someone else and having a joy in that, but also caring for yourself is very rewarding, So that's a good message that I will leave for my daughters.
Yeah, and I would say, and we have this saying, Chinasa, is what's the hope? So I have a lot of hope based off of this conversation, just the number of tips and things that I will myself start to apply. So I have hope that we will start to apply some of the things that we haven't in our own mothering, and those of you in the audience will do the same. And then also, I have hope that we will continue to allow our children to be themselves, but also within the confines of making sure that they're just good citizens overall, so that they are able to take some of these positive things and instill them in their children and obviously in the next generation. So I do have hope that we're going to continue to move in the right direction in this mothering space. So I will ask each of you what the hope is for you as we wrap up. So Chinasa, as our guest, what do you have hope in going into the future?
My one thing is let's start the movement for a table for one.
Mm.
Let's get a table for one. Let's start that. It is okay to get a table for one. I think I might do a table for one today.
Okay, yes, I will too. In honor of you, a table for one.
I love this, Chinasa, and I feel like companies that love and support moms, restaurants should give moms like $50 discount on Mother's Day. By yourself, come and eat by yourself. I know I'm saying
It's
but
sponsorship out there, yeah. I hope, yeah.
Yeah, table one for moms. Like lunch on us and lunch
on us on Mother's Day. Love it. My hope is really again community, supporting one another, seeing one another. I always feel seen by another Black mom. Always. Literally nonverbal cues in the stores, in the parking lot. It don't matter where it is. Like whatever's going on, I can feel that connection where we're like, I see you. I know that you're trying hard. I know that you're doing this thing. And, my hope is that we communicate that to one another. That, Rasheeta, you're an awesome mom. Chinasa, you're an amazing mom. Like just to be able to share that and affirm each other, I believe that will, give us the affirmations that we need. Like it's one thing to have self-affirmation, which is critical. And I think as mothers, we probably crave some community affirmation. So my hope is that we can start to do that even more.
Wonderful. Well, Chinasa, we cannot thank you enough for joining us today. We enjoyed conversations. We hope to be able to invite you back and hope to have you on virtual couch, our virtual couch again. But we really appreciate you coming on with us. And it was such a rich conversation. And we hope you out there were able to also get some nuggets of wisdom from this episode. So until next time, we will see you next week. And happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there.
Happy Mother's Day. Thank you.
Thank you.